And I'm happy to give the floor to Malcolm Harbour. Malcolm.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Arnaldo. I think I was invited for the first time in my European or my former career as a European parliamentarian to speak from the podium at the front, but actually I feel much more comfortable up here, where I used to chair meetings, and I can see all of you better from here. So I hope that you will allow me to do that. I see the cameras on me as well, so that's very good. It's really fantastic to be invited to come back. It's just more than 2 years since I retired from the European Parliament, but I spent 15 years working on issues around the single market. I am really passionate about the single market. I am really desperate that my country is apparently poised to potentially leave the single market, but there's still a lot of water to go under the bridge before that might finally happen. And if there are any questions about that from the floor, then I'm happy to take them later. I know that Anna Maria Corazza-Bildt, who is now Vice President of the Internal Market Committee in the Parliament, is going to join us later. She's a fantastic supporter. She's even more enthusiastic and passionate about the single market than I am, so she'll be able to bring you up to date on where things are. But I have been following it closely in my work at the European Policy Centre, where I regularly chair a single market roundtable, and I'm also very active in the UK, particularly on digital issues as well. So we'll obviously both be listening very carefully to the points that you will make later, and I'm sure between us that we'll be able to deal with them. But I think, just to set the scene for the discussion, the single market is, of course, at the core of the European project, and indeed is one of the most ambitious projects since we started work on it essentially in the late 1980s and the 1992 programme. Of course, services, and I suspect many of you will be in service businesses, we didn't actually introduce measures to open up services until 2006. I was privileged to be the leader of the centre-right on that proposal, and I think was one of the people who got it through the Parliament. It was very controversial at the time. And I would say, first of all, that I think in services, we started later and we still have much further to go. And I'm sure you'll be raising points about restrictions that you see member states applying about access to service businesses and mutual recognition of qualifications and other aspects. But all I would say to you is that is still in transition at the moment. On the single market for goods, of course, we should be absolutely clear that we do have a genuine single market for goods. In 2008, we published, we approved in the Parliament, and the rapporteur for that was Alexander Stubb, who will be well known to our Finnish colleagues here, who went on to become Prime Minister of Finland, but he cut his teeth in the European Parliament working on mutual recognition for goods. So now he's no longer Prime Minister. He might be available to help you if you have any problems. But that mutual recognition proposal has not really realised the benefits for companies, in my view, who are having difficulties in getting their products and being allowed to place their products on the marketplace. Now, I emphasise both those 2 points because for goods and services, we're not looking for more legislation, but we're looking for member states to enforce that legislation properly. And for goods, we have mechanisms in place to try and stop member states undermining the existing single market by introducing some local regulation that may affect goods or goods packaging that many of you may have come across. Now, in European law, any member state who wants to restrict access to goods has to notify it, and it has to be properly scrutinised. The problem is that that process really isn't working. And I was very pleased that in Mrs. Corazza-Bildt's Mrs. Bienkowska, Commissioner Bienkowska's single market strategy proposal. And believe me, I have been a rapporteur for more single market strategies than I can remember in my 15 years in the Parliament. But I have to say that Mrs. Bienkowska's single market report, upgrading the single market for people and business, was by far the most pragmatic one that I've seen, which focused on making sure the single market was delivering for businesses. And there are proposals, and Anna Maria, I'm sure, will talk about where they are in the legislative process, to actually toughen up this mutual recognition process and also make sure that services are being properly delivered and that service obstructions are being removed. So any feedback that you can give us on that will be really important. Now, I also want to say something about public procurement, which I know is of particular interest to many of you. In my last 5 years in the European Parliament, I spent 5 years working on the reform of the public procurement directives, because it was quite clear that public procurement has become far too legalistic and far too bureaucratic, and was also very obstructive in many cases for SMEs. And my colleagues in the European Parliament took this really seriously. And just to demonstrate that to you, if I can just relate to you something that we did during our review and amendment of those directives. We were well into negotiations with the Member States about this, and we had particular issues about SME measures, particularly about SMEs being excluded from contracts, relatively large contracts, about paperwork, pre-qualification, all those sort of things. And we had some real obstruction from the Member States. And I said to my colleagues, why don't we commission a piece of research to do an audit, an impact assessment on how this proposal as it stands is affecting SMEs. And we took that report, which confirmed our view that we hadn't achieved what we intended to about opening up for SMEs, and that's what enabled us to get the Member States to withdraw their objections and agree the SME-friendly proposals. So that's a real indication of how we worked on that. Now, my concern at the moment is hello, Anna Maria. I introduced you briefly in your absence as being even more enthusiastic than me about the single market. So coming back to the SME aspects of public procurement, my real worry is that legislation was passed in 2014. It should have been implemented in every member state by now. There are clear provisions for member states to make public procurement more SME friendly, to demand less documentation at the beginning, to divide contracts into lots, to justify why they're not doing that, and those sort of measures are there. But we're not clear at all that they've been properly implemented. And again, in Mrs. Bienkowska's proposal, she's putting in measures to properly monitor the implementation of the Public Procurement Directive. So there's a sort of opening thing, perhaps just to show you. I have a banner in front of me there, but my name is spelt wrong because I have an extra L in it, but it doesn't matter. My name is spelt in the Scottish way. The Scots are very pro-European as well, as you probably know. I don't know if there's anyone from Scotland here. So I just want to conclude by two final remarks. I think that the issue we have with the single market is to get the member states to take it really seriously. And that means that we need proper monitoring about how well the member states are implementing legislation. That needs to be exposed. It needs to be transparent. It needs to be talked at the level of the European semester and even the Prime Minister's Council. We don't have proper metrics. The second thing is that I would really like us to see, and this is a longer ambition, to restore a properly focused single market council when the ministers get together. At the moment it's buried in something called the Competitiveness Council. And the single market completion is not getting the exposure it deserves. And I just think finally that it's really important that you keep up your engagement. You know, the part of the problem is that people who are frustrated by the single market, if you are frustrated that you're not getting onto a tender list, or you regard the bureaucracy as far too complex, and you walk away from the contract, we never hear about those frustrations. So the more that we can work with Eurochambres and with your local associations, and please go to your ministers as well, because it's them that will obstruct them and are proving obstructive. And I know that my colleagues on the Internal Market Committee will continue the work that we did previously and will be listening to you. And Anna Maria, I'm in a nice position this afternoon. I'm going to make the speech, and Anna Maria is going to answer all the questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. In the meantime, Anna Maria Corazza-Bildt has joined the speakers' podium. Now it is up to you again. Time has come for you to show if you want to take the floor during this session on internal market. Please raise your hands, those that want to take the floor. Take it up. We need to take the numbers of your seat. Okay. Take it.
Some at the back then.
Yeah. Yeah, but we have people there too. Okay, thank you very much. Now, let's start with the first that I just spotted. I remind you, 60 seconds, please. Thank you very much. Number 149. You had the floor. $149. Are you there? No, 149 is not there. So I took it wrongly. Number 718. 718. Well, which number? I mean, I should.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, here it is. 718. Please stand up and take the floor.
719. I run Lower Europe, an SME working across Europe. Initially, we were based in the UK. We became a Belgian company this year. I'm a European. After Brexit, I will still be a European. As a company, we will be based within the EU long term because the single market is the expression of an economic truism that the greater one's access to consumers, to skills, capital, resources, the greater the economic potential. The single market is a European achievement. It's also been a British achievement and a British priority within the EU. For Britain to exit the single market is not just ironic, it would be perverse. Completing the single market is an economic and political imperative. In particular, as online markets grow exponentially, the lack of a single market is a key deficiency. I would therefore urge speed, because consumers and markets don't wait around for policymakers. Speed, because European growth needs the boost. Speed, so Europe can regain competitive edge globally. And speed so that the UK may see Europe push forward with one of its key priorities. Given the strength of the UK digital sector, it would further strengthen the case for Brexit to be more open, more integrated with Europe and less closed. It will strengthen the case for continuing economic partnership between the EU and the UK. As a Briton and a European, that is where I want us to be. Thank you.
Number 193. 193.
Directeur général du groupe FMH regroupant des fonderies et des sociétés de traitement de surface en France, et je suis également un représentant des chambres de commerce et d'industrie françaises. Les réglementations européennes sont de plus en plus contraignantes pour les entreprises et les PME en particulier. Citons à titre d'exemple le règlement REACH, bien connu pour sa complexité. Tout en étant conscient que l'objectif est d'améliorer les conditions de travail et de garantir la pérennité des générations futures, ces contraintes favorisent davantage les marchés internationaux que ceux de l'Union européenne. Ne pensez-vous pas que les réglementations devraient être davantage élaborées dans le but de soutenir en priorité la compétitivité des entreprises de l'Union européenne? Merci.
Thank you. Number 104.
I am Jerka Puljic. I am coming from Croatian largest company Agrokor. My question, considering single market, yes, we are agreed that single market is the biggest achievement, but not all the companies have the same approach to the single market. The difference in competitiveness between peripheral countries and the old member states is still very big, and the gap is still very big. That's the reason why in a lot of peripheral countries you have that practice today that they launch their own loans and trying to protect that markets. And that gap during the crisis, the reasons are in the past, in history, during the crisis, but I may say from our point of view the biggest reason is access to capital, access to financing. We have access to financing, but the difference in the interest rates between debt countries and all member states are so big that from the very beginning you are uncompetitive. We borrow the money on different interest rates. We also haven't the same approach to ECB funds as the old member states company. So our question...
Please come to an end.
Question is, what European Union, European Commission plan to do to make that conditions more equal, to balance the entities from peripheral countries and entities on old member states?
Thank you very much. Number 476.
Well, 2020 programs, incentives or rewards. Are we creating an economy based on handouts? Most of us that have or had children know that if we give them a candy before a good deed, odds are they'll eat it and forget about the shore at hand. Transposing this into some of our 2020 programs, it worries me when I see this rush for handouts. If you have a good product and a sound business plan, please put your money where your heart is, and I'm sure others will follow your passion. We should defend a wider 2020 programme based on rewards for success and not subsidies on unproven future success. This, I believe, will create a more competitive and sustainable future for all of us. Thank you.
Number 354.
Colleagues, as Malta, our country, prepares for the EU presidency, please rest assured we will bring your issues and our issues to our government's attention. In spite of the European single market, online cross-border sales remain substantially low when taking into consideration the potential of a single market of 500 million that it offers. By their very nature, businesses are always looking to increase their sales. For their own survival, they need to grow. In my view, traders' decision not to sell cross-border, even through a digital platform, is not motivated by discriminatory considerations. As long as single market fragmentation remains, traders and particularly SMEs experience reduced confidence to engage in cross-business economic activity due to having to comply with various national laws. As long as fragmentation remains, the Commission's proposal for an obligation to sell will not have the desired effect of boosting online cross-border sales. In the meantime, and in view of the current proposal of the regulation, the justified right of traders not to be obliged to deliver cross-border should be safeguarded. Thank you.
Number 294.
Dear colleagues, my name is Konstantin Mikalos and I am the President of the Union of Greek Chambers of Commerce and Industry and Deputy President of Eurochambres. I am afraid that I am not going to share the pleasantries and certain views expressed so far in terms of the optimism for the business environment. Every year we hear the same words of encouragement by the official dignitaries who attend this session. However, austerity is deepening from year to year, especially for the EU countries of the south, but not only. There is a lack of liquidity, lower consumer demand, high operational costs, and all that with a lot of misery and disappointment apparent all round. Is this the true European vision which we planned, envisaged and orchestrated over the last 15 years? I think not. Can we continue along with this mixture of economic policy and hope that the vast SME European community will emerge unscathed and with growth potential? I think not. Let us therefore leave aside our sentiments of politeness and with solidarity of the productive powers we possess, let us battle for the survival and growth of our sector. Thank you very much.
Number 344. 344.
Mi chiamo Andrea Zanlari, sono il presidente della stazione sperimentale delle conserve alimentari di Parma e sono il presidente della Camera di Commercio di Parma. Saluto la dottoressa Corazza, mia concittadina. Uno dei criteri di ricerca e formazione più importanti in Europa è quello del prodotto agroalimentare. Il quotidiano supporto da parte di 3.000 imprese che fanno riferimento alla nostra struttura e che operano principalmente sul mercato agroalimentare europeo dimostra chiaramente che la carente informazione delle norme tecniche dei 28 Stati membri è ancora un ostacolo al commercio dei prodotti agroalimentari. Ho avuto opportunità di approfondire in queste ultime settimane la strategia europea sul digitale, che può diventare una leva importantissima. L'Italia, ma non solo, ha intrapreso al riguardo un percorso molto chiaro. Cito l'esperienza assolutamente positiva nel settore dell'agroalimentare della borsa merci telematica italiana, di proprietà delle Camere di Commercio italiana e oggi unico mercato regolamentato a livello europeo dei prodotti dell'agroalimentare e della logistica, un passo decisivo verso la trasparenza dei mercati. Mi aspetto che questa, come altre esperienze, sia opportunamente valorizzata nelle strategie europee e inclusa ancora di più nella partecipazione di sistema.
Number 258, 258.
We as entrepreneurs observe with anxiety the initiative for reviewing the Directive 96/71/EC on the posted workers. It's considered as a poor or non-compliance with such European principles as the integrated free market, the free competition, the subsidiarity and the support of SME internationalisation. No real reason can be seen to differentiate so much markets of products and services, as due to the progress of Industry 4.0, the trade of products becomes more and more tightly integrated with their related services. In practical terms, the remuneration systems of member states are so much different in content and structure that those are not comparable in a fair way. So we strongly recommend preserving the directive and its confirmation. Thank you.
Number 500.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I speak for the Junior Chamber of Germany.
Wait, hold on a second. Okay, the mic is on.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Alexander Kulitz. I speak for the Junior Chamber of Commerce in Germany. Doubting Europe's single market also means putting prosperity at stake. I strongly want my children in the future to grow up in a world where there is a free single market in Europe. Recent movements in the Union, especially in the UK, have shown that the single market consists of much more than of a free trade zone. A common sense of cultural respect, the rule of law, social commitment and the freedom of individuals are just as important as the modern infrastructure and fast access to internet. This is why the Junior Chamber of Commerce strongly supports the idea of a single digital gateway as a helpful tool. But please, ladies and gentlemen, as young entrepreneurs, we need less obstacles and bureaucracy rather than having them built up on a national level all the time. What we need is a single market, a new single market 2.0. Maternal care for free citizens and young entrepreneurs is not the duty of neither national governments nor the European Union. If governments provide a reasonable framework, we, as the young entrepreneurs, will do our part to help grow the added economic value in Europe. Please assist us in that. Thank you.
Number 616, 616.
Mein Name ist Hans-Peter Wollseifer, ich bin Maler und Lackierermeister und leite das Unternehmen Facility und Bauservice. Der Binnenmarkt hat die wirtschaftliche und politische Integration Europas weit vorangebracht. Unternehmen profitieren von den offenen Grenzen, von den geringen Kosten und sind Teil des größten einheitlichen Markts der Welt. Wir brauchen aber keine Harmonisierung in allen Feldern. EU-Gesetzgebung darf sich nicht im Klein-Klein verlieren. Das bedroht die Akzeptanz Europas. Bürokratieabbau ist wichtig, um das Projekt Europa wieder stark zu machen. Die richtige Umsetzung und Anwendung von europäischen Gesetzen muss in den Mittelpunkt rücken. Gesetze, die ihr Ziel nicht erreichen, müssen auch zurückgenommen werden. Das ist der richtige Ansatz. Damit kleine und mittlere Unternehmen am Binnenmarkt teilhaben und von ihm profitieren können, muss Europa passgenaue Lösungen bieten, die bewährte Strukturen auch nicht in Frage stellen. Die geplante Dienstleistungskarte hat zum Beispiel für unsere Bauunternehmen keinerlei Mehrwert. Außerdem brauchen wir Regionalbanken, die uns nahe sind und unsere Sprache sprechen, sowohl im wörtlichen als auch im übertragenen Sinn. Wir brauchen keine anonymen Finanzmärkte. Und bei der Digitalisierung können kleine und mittlere Unternehmen nicht außen vor gelassen werden. Der Fokus darf hier nicht nur auf Start-ups und Scale-ups liegen. Und die öffentliche Vergabe muss mittelstandsgerecht ausgestaltet werden. Vielen Dank.
Number 100.
Hello, I am from Chamber of Commerce of Czech Republic. In the last year, new national protection measures appeared on the internal market. These barriers, such as application of minimum wage on international transport operations in France and Germany, go against the principles of the single market. And I welcome the decision of the Commission on 20 July to launch a legal procedure against France and Germany, and I invite the Commission to stop the revision of the Posting of Workers Directive, which will bring more complexity and over-regulation if adopted. The proposal demands flexibility and balance represented by the current directive. Last but not least, the principle of equal pay for equal work is misleading and simply not true. Why the Commission decided to continue with the revision although 11 national parliaments rejected it? It will be finished of one single market and possibly beginning of next Brexit.
Number 463.
Thank you. I represent the Polish company Fakro, the vice leader in the manufacture of roof windows, and the company and the foundation Think About Future that has gathered the largest Polish private companies that see the lack of equal opportunities to compete on the single market. Recently, it is very fashionable to speak about the digital single market or the single market of services, forgetting completely that the single market for goods has not been reached. I would be far from agree with Mr. Harbour that it works. And now, in particular, the Commission takes no action in this direction and promoting fast the large Western companies and in particular companies in a dominant position can easily divide the market by unjustified product differentiation and influencing local certification bodies. Recently, actually, this makes that the so-called single market is fully accessible for Western companies, big Western companies, but certainly not accessible for the small CEE companies that would like to expand into Western Europe. And certainly it's not beneficial for consumers. I would like, therefore, to ask the CEE companies to cooperate, to work together in order to create the genuine single market. Please contact me and the Foundation for further cooperation. Thank you.
Number 14.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, the issue of obligation to sell has been addressed already. But let me draw your attention to another aspect. I mean, if we are traders, then we try to sell our products to as many customers as possible. If we choose not to sell to one country, that it is for a reason. Maybe we are not familiar with the legal situation there or with the customer protection rights. And so being forced to sell into such a country would have a big risk for a small company. And so I think this is a question that is going to be voted on later on. So please join me in sending a strong message to the Commission that small and medium enterprises don't need another burden. Thank you.
Number 548. 548.
Me llamo Juanma Romero, trabajo en la televisión pública española y estoy todo el día rodeado de emprendedores. Esto del mercado único es una idea muy bonita, pero habría que saber si, aunque todos hemos oído hablar de ella, entendemos efectivamente qué es. Porque una cosa es tener la idea y luego otra saber transmitirla. De hecho, hace 2500 años, un tal Pericles dijo aquello de que si tienes una idea y no sabes cómo contarla, es mejor que te la calles. Pero ahora, en la época actual, con las redes sociales y todos los medios de comunicación, podríamos decir algo más. Si sabes cómo contar esa idea, pero no sabes cómo difundirla, quizá no sirva de mucho. Yo no sé si no estamos dando demasiada información. Esta mañana, en la sesión de la mañana, veíamos que la web del Parlamento tiene muchísima información. ¿Sabemos realmente dónde está llegando esa información? ¿Sabemos si está llegando a las personas adecuadas? ¿Hemos podido crear los canales para que esa información llegue? Yo creo que al final de lo que se trata es de informar más, pero también tenemos que intentar todos informar mejor. Gracias.
$391 left, no there. 342.
Buongiorno, io parlo a nome di Confimindustria, Confederazione delle imprese manifatturiere italiane. Io provengo da una nazione, l'Italia, dove le imprese muoiono di credito, muoiono per la mancanza di pagamenti e non solo da parte della pubblica amministrazione. Noi come Confederazione riteniamo che un sistema per ottenere risultati nel rispetto dei termini di pagamento potrebbe essere quello di invertire la classe di merito. Oggi l'azienda che non viene pagata è l'azienda che non viene pagata a venire penalizzata dal sistema finanziario e bancario, mentre basterebbe creare la figura del cattivo pagatore e far pesare a questo le conseguenze di non aver correttamente pagato i propri fornitori, innescando così un sistema che andrebbe quantomeno a scoraggiare i ritardi di pagamento e un po' più di equità nel sistema commerciale. Grazie.
Number 552. 552.
Vielen Dank, Herr Vorsitzender. Mein Name ist Hjalmar Stemmann. Ich bin Medizinproduktehersteller aus Hamburg in Deutschland. Die kostenpflichtigen Zusatzanmeldungen von CE gekennzeichneten und damit im europäischen Markt zugelassenen Medizinprodukten in einzelnen Mitgliedstaaten, wie zum Beispiel Italien, behindern den freien Warenaustausch und schädigen insbesondere kleine Unternehmen. Die CE Kennzeichnung ist aufwendig und teuer genug. Ihre Gültigkeit muss europaweit gelten und als einzige Regel durchgesetzt werden. Vielen Dank.
Number 416, 416.
Ik ben Pools, maar ik kan Nederlands praten. Mijn naam is Marcin Lewandowski. Aan mij de eer om de Poolse ondernemers in Nederland te vertegenwoordigen als voorzitter van de Poolse Kamer van Koophandel in Nederland. En ook als advocaat in de alledaagse praktijk van buitenlandse ondernemer in een andere lidstaat. Ik ben het eens met de vaststelling van de heer Harbour dat we zijn nog lang niet klaar met de interne markt, vrij van barrières. Ik ben ook een product van de Europese Unie, een Pool die woont in Nederland en werkt in Nederland in Polen. Ik ben een European. Zowel in privé als in mijn zakelijk leven, elke dag zie ik enorme voordelen van de interne markt. De principes en de basisregelgeving in zaken interne markt en 4 vrijheden, daaronder richtlijn 96/71, heeft aan midden- en kleinbedrijf enorme kansen. Echter door de nationale protectionisme en de laatste initiatieven van de commissie, zoals bijvoorbeeld de uitvoeringsrichtlijn van 15 mei 2014 bij de richtlijn 96/71, de detacheringsrichtlijn, en de nieuwe plannen op dit gebied van de leiden ertoe.
Please come to an end.
Wordt illusoor. Ik heb één vraag. Wat kan op centraal niveau worden gedaan om sneller en effectiever de nationale maatregelen in strijd met de 4 vrijheden te elimineren? Is het openstellen van een rechtstreeks beroep bij het Europees Hof van Justitie een optie? Dank u wel.
Thank you. Now the floor is to 543.
Buenas tardes, Íñigo de Palacio, Grupo Multinacional Español Indra, Tecnologías, Innovación, Transformación Digital. Las barreras existentes para la implantación efectiva de un mercado único digital en la UE están ocasionando la pérdida de oportunidades para las empresas y los ciudadanos, limitan la creación de nuevas empresas innovadoras e impiden que las empresas y los gobiernos se beneficien plenamente de las herramientas digitales. Es el momento de derribar los muros regulatorios, completando la transición de 28 mercados nacionales a un único mercado. Además de los 3 pilares ya contemplados en la Estrategia Europea de Mercado Digital, Indra propondría la adición de un 4º pilar, incorporar lo digital como un catalizador de cohesión, fomentando entornos de colaboración entre las regiones y los Estados miembros, movilizando instrumentos para la aceleración de la transformación digital en los servicios públicos y las industrias. La UE debería estimular la iniciativa de aquellos que mueven la demanda de soluciones digitales, pues es la clave para mejorar la innovación en Europa. En definitiva, preservar la cohesión norte-sur en el mercado digital único y la consolidación de grandes gigantes digitales europeos con capacidad de asegurar nuestra autonomía tecnológica deberían ser prioridades en la acción de la Unión Europea en el futuro inmediato. Gracias.
Thank you very much to all. If you have not had chance to intervene from the floor, I hope that you have been tweeting on the hashtag EPE 2016, and your tweets will appear on the tweet wall, and we will try to give an answer to all your questions that have not been asked directly during the debate. Now we come to the voting session. I remind all of you to insert the card or your credit card into the voting device. And now we come to the first of the series of 6 questions we had to vote on this session. Do national governments do enough to tackle the problem of late payments between public bodies and businesses? The voting session is open. Yeah, we should have already spoken in the previous session.
I don't know.
Yeah. So the voting session closes now. And here are the results. 377 say no, not enough. Thank you. Second question. Is the single market sufficiently integrated, allowing your company to operate and compete freely? Sorry. Please, session open.
Very good. Vote is closed. No, it's not closed. People are very slow to vote.
Yeah.
Less voters.
It's a pity that many of you do not vote. Don't be fearful. Just put your fingers in the device. It doesn't harm your fingers. Yeah. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Be faithful. Malcolm still has 5 fingers on his hand, and he did it a lot.
I've run the votes a lot.
The vote session is closed now.
You're being too generous with them.
And the results are 405 says that the single market it is not sufficiently integrated. Thank you. Next question. Do administrative, legislative or fiscal exemptions discourage businesses from scaling up their activities? Session open.
You're going to send these to Mrs. Binkowska, right?
Yes, I will. Certainly.
You'll tell her what a great job we've done in defending her position.
Yeah, but also because she has refused to come today.
She refused to come.
Yeah, it's really a very negative thing.
Yeah. She was so nice about her report. You can include that as well.
Yeah.
They're very slow in voting.
Yeah, the voting session closes now. And the results are 344 says that yes, administrative, legislative or fiscal exemptions discourage your business. Thank you. Next question. Is a lack of information on rules and requirements a significant obstacle to trading in other EU member states? Please vote.
Anna Maria wants to know how long she has to wind up with it.
It's a tough job for you. I know, but just pick them, group them and pick. Yeah. The session is closing now. And the results are yes, 430 among you say that is a lack of information on rules and requirements, an obstacle for trading in other EU member states. Thank you very much. Next question. Now, don't worry, we will not report to the fiscal authorities. I search for finance across the EU, not only in my own country. Yes or no? Please vote.
Vote is open. Well, they're voting more quickly now because money's at stake.
Immediately, you see that?
It's come up much more quickly. Right. Has everybody voted?
No, they don't. But many are not even inserted a card.
But I mean, the 150 cards are inserted, otherwise it wouldn't say that.
Yeah, exactly. So, session is closing now. The results are interesting.
Very interesting.
Half of you, yes, looking for money around other EU member states. Half of them, they've not dared declaring it. Thank you. Next question. Do you agree that online traders should be legally obliged to sell to consumers throughout the EU? Session is open. I think the many will be
That's going out very quickly.
Yeah. and I assume to know where those votes go.
I think it takes some time for the computer to pull them together. These are all
Look at that. They are all green. No, they are all red.
Okay. Vote session is closing now. And the results are, interesting enough, 268 saying no, we should not oblige business, while 187 says yes. Thank you very much. The session are closed here, and now I give the immense, monumental task to Anna Maria.
Thank you very much.
And, wait, you had no mic. Yes, use this one.
Thank you, friends.
Can we give the mic here, please?
Okay, here we are. For the first, let me welcome back to the European Parliament my dear friend Malcolm Harbour, who has been for me a mentor and a great leader. And Malcolm, you have been a game changer. You have been a game changer in the progress that we have achieved over the 10 years you've been chairing the Internal Market Committee. And it's been a great learning and important for me to serve under your leadership. Thank you for everything you have been doing, not the least launching the Internal Market Act 1 and 2, where the Parliament has started to take the initiative to drive the agenda, to ask the Commission to present proposals for us to reduce burden, borders and barriers for free movements in Europe, for all the free movement in Europe. Let me tell you that I am an entrepreneur. I have created, founded and run 2 companies starting from Parma. I am originally Italian and elected in Sweden for the EPP group, and I have learned the hard way that the internal market was not functioning 15 years ago when we were told you can sell from Italy to Sweden on the net. And I share your frustration. I think, Mr. Chairman, I would have voted exactly as the majority has been voting in terms of the obstacles that are unacceptable because they are depriving the people of Europe of jobs. They are depriving us of competitiveness. They are depriving you to become the global champions that Europe so badly needs. And this has been the ground driving force for me to serve 8 years in this Parliament, to look with the glasses of small companies would look, and to try to have feet in the ground and see that everything we do has to be based in reality. Have we succeeded? Apparently not. Who to blame? The Member States. I think Malcolm was very clear on that. I have 18 questions, Mr. Chairman. I intend to answer to all because they were all relevant. They were all important and everyone deserves an answer. To our British friend, of course, Brexit has been for us a great shock, and I belong to those who would like to keep in a constructive, positive, long-term looking relationship as much as possible with all the people of Great Britain, with definitely the single market in my view. To our French, je vais donner beaucoup de problèmes aux interprètes parce que je vais changer de langue. Je voudrais dire à notre collègue français qui dit qu'il faut soutenir en priorité la compétitivité des entreprises européennes par rapport aux entreprises, au libre-échange avec les entreprises externes. Moi, je crois que notre devoir, c'est de vous faciliter, de faire de réglementations qui soient minimales, qui donnent la possibilité aux entreprises européennes d'être compétitives, le level playing field. Il ne s'agit pas de laisser les autres dehors, il s'agit de vous donner la possibilité d'être compétitifs avec des réglementations qui ne soient pas des obstacles. Et bien sûr, pour moi, le point que vous avez mentionné, REACH, oui, c'était très controversiel. Moi, je crois que we compete with sustainability.
Ça va être la compétitivité du futur. Ça a des coûts dans le court terme, bien sûr. Ça peut être un avantage dans le long terme, mais nous ne faisons pas assez pour mettre en place le Small Business Act, c'est-à-dire un système continuel de révision de nos législations et de monitorage de nos législations pour que ce ne soit pas un obstacle pour les petites entreprises. To our friend from Croatia, Dobar Dan, well, we launch our own laws to protect companies. Yes, we have, and it came out also in questions and comments from other prominent friends and colleagues here from Czech Republic and other Eastern European countries. You have a legitimate concern that companies that are maybe bigger, that have already created a scale in Western European countries, could come with a competitive advantage to your markets, and there have been member states creating laws that have been breaking the internal market, for example tax laws, you remember, Malcolm, and other local laws that are definitely against the internal market and protecting. In my view, this is a very short term measures. The way to protect your small companies in countries that don't feel that they are competitive enough is to remove the obstacles, not to creating discrimination towards companies from other member states. It's true within the European Union, I think, and it's true also globally. But I would be happy to continue the discussion with you after this session on more individual cases if you have them. To our friend from Portugal, I can very much agree. I'm not in favour of subsidies. I am much more in favour of rewarding success. And I think that you have a political dividing line, and I would say ideological dividing line in this parliament. It is not like, member states or companies and then Brussels. In Brussels you have good politicians and bad politicians. You have politicians who believe that we have to use taxpayers' money that doesn't exist, adding to the public debt, undermining the base for you to be credible with creditors as the only way to boost growth. I belong to those politicians who believe that we should have discipline in the public debt, and we should instead focus on removing the obstacles, the rules, the bureaucracy, the red tape, and implementing the internal market legislation that is not at the moment implementing, for instance, the service directive, the goods packages. You talked about the public procurement. The deadline was in April this year. Many member states have not yet implemented it. That would have been a great simplification, and therefore I agree with you. Our friend from Malta, we have great expectation on the upcoming presidency. On selling online, well, geo-blocking is on my table, on our table at the moment, and it's also the issue that has been raised a lot with controversy on Article 21 of the Service Directive. I am not in favour of the obligation to sell, but the way I would like to put it is, why do we have to even discuss that? Why is it that companies feel not sufficient confidence to sell throughout this fantastic common market that we have, from Lapland to the Canary Islands? And so I would prefer to work on creating the market conditions where it does not cost more to sell a product between Sweden and Denmark in 30 kilometers than within Sweden 3,000 kilometers. And we have to look at opening the market of parcel delivery, for instance, as a way maybe to make it more attractive for companies to sell to all customers throughout Europe. To our Greek friend, I think we have a lot of understanding for the suffering of the people of Greece due to the continued economic financial crisis. I think that we have done a big part. Taxpayers of the rest of Europe have done a big part. It's not enough. I share your frustration. But the current government in Greece, if you let me be political since I'm a member of parliament, is not really the most brilliant example that I have seen in terms of supporting opening up the market in a way that would allow the Greek companies to perform better. Naturalmente parlerò in italiano al mio collega di Parma e penso di avere già risposto alla questione dell'importanza della logistica e di un sistema integrato di logistica che sia efficiente, che non sia il semi-oligopolio che abbiamo in questo momento e della trasparenza che lei menzionava. Our French friend has talked about the Posts of Workers Directive. I just tell you, I'm not in favor of revising the Posts of Workers Directive. I think the labour market is a national issue. I believe in subsidiarity. I don't think we should have minimum wages at European level. Please go and talk to the socialists, because that's the primary priority in Europe at the moment. The Swedish government has priority number one, revising the Posts of Workers Directive. This is the vision for Europe. I don't know how it will help Swedish companies to export, but this is politics. It's not Brussels against member states. It's bad politics, good politics. Please influence your politicians nationally. Don't come only to Brussels to complain. Please talk to your national parliaments, talk to your national governments, make the case for the internal market at home. Because it's not only us here. This is my appeal to you. And the Posts of Work is just one example where we get all the blame and we are against revising it. Our German friend, a lack of single market will undermine the prosperity of your children. Very well said. And we're talking about an area of freedom, not only market for companies. It's another ideological battle we are taking. There's a lot of politicians that still think that integrating the internal market is giving up on consumers' rights. It's only for companies. It's against consumers. Please help us in bringing forward the win-win for companies and consumer policy and vision, which is the one I believe you were talking about. I know you are cutting me, but I'm in the business of cutting red tape that our other German colleague that is in a construction company was mentioning. Yes, SMEs has to participate more in the internal market. I think you have in the Parliament enormous political will. We have an SME circle, SME working group. We have an SME check in a lot of what we do in the internal in the European Parliament beyond the Internal Market Committee. And you are totally right. To our Czech colleague, I think that the issue of minimum wage for transport company, it's a big west-east divide that we have at the moment in Europe. It's very unfortunate. We need to bridge and find a way to have fair rights for the transport workers while not diminishing freedom of movement of workers from Central and Eastern Europe to the rest of Europe. I'm in favour of European citizens to be able to freely move also for work throughout Europe. The Commission has ignored the yellow card. That was wrong. We have to work together with national parliaments. They are not our enemies. They are our counterparts in ensuring a governance to the internal market that benefits the end users. That's my vision. To our Polish colleague who is dealing with Windows, I think I answered. There is this fear that big companies will take over to small companies. I don't think that the solution is protectionism. Geo-blocking, I think our Austrian colleagues has raised, I think have answered that, and we will continue to look forward to be in touch with you as it is in our tables right now. To our friend from Spain, we have to go from ideas and words to reality, more information. Let me tell you about information. We have instruments, Solvit, the Europa Portal, the alternative dispute resolution, the online dispute resolution, the enterprise network. We have a very important number of tools that have been developed over time, the internal market information system. There is definitely a lack of information, and I would appeal, if I may, to Eurochambres, to the national chambers of commerce, to help, to the umbrella organisation, to help inform companies. Because entrepreneurs don't have time. They cannot spend hours Googling things, and it's very important, I think, the role of the umbrella organisation to spread the information. There are really, nowadays you can open a company, close a company, run a company on digital platforms. And these are instruments that can really help a lot. I am almost finishing. Il nostro collega italiano alla Confederazione manifatturiera, la direttiva sui pagamenti è stata adottata nel 2011, è entrata in vigore nel 2013 e c'è un problema di messa in atto in alcuni Stati membri, però le regole sono chiare: entro 30 giorni il pubblico deve pagare il privato, entro 60 giorni a meno che non ci sia un accordo diverso tra le parti, e si possono richiedere i tassi di interesse direttamente dopo il 30° giorno per legge in tutta Europa. E abbiamo anche creato la SEPA, Single European Payment Area, abbiamo fatto un cambiamento della legislazione per diminuire i credit card fees. E queste sono tutte, e stiamo aprendo il mercato dei pagamenti a mobile solutions che penso possono essere molto utili per le piccole società. The issue of labels raised by our German colleague from Hamburg, I agree. I think it's important to recognize the CE label and to develop it and to have mutual recognition for the national labels. On the issue of food and sustainability, for instance, we have developed and we are developing, and textile also, European labels. We have a huge controversy in this House on the issue of Made in, which I know is very close to some of the Italian and Southern European colleagues. The last two questions, Mr. Chairman, from Poland, the President of the Dutch Chamber, representing a Polish company. Yes, please work at national level to deal with the obstacles that are created by local legislation, regional legislation, national legislations that really are interference to the internal market. We see that now with the shared economy. We see that with the service directive, that we don't have the enforcement that would really boost the internal market due to obstacles created by national regulation, not by European regulation. And last but not least, our Spanish colleagues with the digital single market. That's what really we have on the table now. We are moving forward with portability very well. We had adopted the data protection regulation, which is not very much internal market friendly, but at least it gives the legal certainty to permit us to move forward. We are working on consumer rights, harmonization of consumer rights online, as the consumer rights directive that we took the previous mandate unfortunately doesn't cover the online. That's the digital single market is our priority at the moment in Internal Market Committee. It opens amazing opportunities for you. And let me finish, Mr. Chairman, by saying that the digital revolution also, in my view, has to change the way we work as politicians, recognizing in a humble way that digital entrepreneurship is much faster than politics, and that maybe we are not the ones who have the best solutions, but some entrepreneur out there right now in Europe is finding the technological solution for problems that we are not able to solve with legislation. Thank you very much. And let's... Sorry if I spoke so fast.
Thank you very much. This is an incredible job that you have done. We are very happy, and I'm sure that we recognize that having answers to our questions, it is one of the reasons why we are here today. Thank you very much to both of you. Now, let's move to the third session. The third session is about sustainability. And while the two speakers will come on the podium, I will ask to play a short video that we have prepared to introduce the session. Please play the video. Very good. In the meantime, we welcome Françoise Bonnet. She's the Secretary General of ACR Plus, Association of Cities and Regions for Recycling and Sustainable Resource Management. And I will immediately give her the floor to introduce us to this session on sustainability. Please. I think you need to take that one. Yeah. Sorry.
Where do I have to?
Yes.
Here?
You're on.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I've been at the last of the third session on sustainability and to focus on circular economy. And I have decided to start with Mr. Timmermans' words, Vice President of the Commission, that he pronounced last December when the circular economy package was adopted by the Commission. Our planet and our economy cannot survive if we continue with the take, make, use and throw away approach. We need to retain precious resources and fully exploit all the economy value within them. The circular economy is about reducing waste and protecting the environment, but it's also about a profound transformation of the way our entire economy works. By rethinking the way we produce work and by we can generate new opportunities and create new jobs. And I won't go into the detail of the number justifying why this shift is a must. But so let's go back to this notion of circular economy, which aims at finding a new economical paradigm, integrated environmental preoccupation, particularly drilling of certain resources, and therefore makes way for new business models, inter alia a deep transformation of production and consumption models. And the characteristic of a circular economy is to create loops in the loop, meaning to combine a set of loops in order to minimize resources consumption and to put back byproducts and waste as a secondary raw material in the process at each stage of the circle. And in that perspective, the new business models require to think in systems and in cascades, and as underlined by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. And I would like to emphasize that it is a system change, not a system optimization. It should be clear for all stakeholders, starting from the public authorities, but also SMEs, consumers and multinationals. Back to the package adopted in December 2015. The European Commission adopted an ambitious new circular economy package to help European businesses and consumers to make the transition to a stronger and more circular economy where resources are used in a more sustainable way. A first part of this package is the EU Action Plan with several key actions. Funding of over €650 million under the Horizon 2020 programme and more than €5 billion under the structural funds. Actions on the food waste reduction, quality standards for secondary raw material, eco-design, etc., etc. And also, of course, a piece of law, the waste package, the revision of 4 waste directives, mainly the Waste Framework Directive and the Packaging Directive. And this revised legislative proposal on waste sets clear targets for reduction of waste and establish an ambitious and credible long-term path for waste management and recycling. But it still has to be adopted by the Council and the Parliament. This is not easy. Key elements of this revised waste proposal include target for recycling 55% of municipal waste by 2030, for recycling of packaging waste 35% by 2030, reduce landfill, promote reuse and stimulate industrial symbiosis. As a representative of ACR Plus, Association of Cities and Regions for Sustainable Management of Material Resources, an international network of local and regional authorities sharing the aim of sustainable material resources, I would like to give you how we see that cities and regions can cooperate with businesses in order to promote smart resource consumption and sustainable waste management. It is on local and regional level that we find authorities whose scope of competences touch the relevant stakeholders in sectors such as permitting, funding, organising, awareness raising, and which are thus in a position to give the circular economy a concrete form. In brief, they are the facilitators for this big shift. And it is up to public authorities to organise a balanced participation of all stakeholders, or even to coordinate and facilitate the creation of a public-private forum which would contribute to the co-creation of eco-innovative actions based on synergy and complementarity. And for that, local and regional authorities should be open to new business models where the closing the loop approach or multi-R approach and the local approach as much as possible are the basics. They have different levers in their hand. They can work on the supply side by supporting SMEs and local enterprises, as well as on the demand side to change the requests of the consumer. Behavioral change by public awareness campaigns, public procurement, infrastructure, businesses support scheme, fiscal framework, regulation. And I would like to emphasise on the last one, regulation. Regulation is a prerequisite, and it starts with a clear signal towards the end-of-pipe solution of waste management, and not only at local and regional level, but also at EU level. Because a landfill ban, it's not useful if it's not accompanied by an ambitious recycling target. Otherwise, it will be useless. Because the product that you burn at the end, or if they don't go to the landfill that you burn, they are not coming back to the market or to the production process. And even if you produce energy through waste incineration, it won't preserve resources, neither create local jobs and boost your local economy. So we think that strong political will and ambition at all administrative levels are needed in an adequate governance framework. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Françoise. Now the time has come again for you to raise your hand if you want to intervene in these sessions. Please raise your hands. Yes, I see you. Yes. Are you taking note? Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Now I start giving the floor to, well, but he has left. Where is it? Number 200.
Bonjour, je dirige une agence digitale en France, une agence de web. Mon entreprise investit énormément sur les produits labellisés, l'environnement, l'accessibilité pour tous depuis 2004. Mais cette R&D est très peu reconnue par les instances économiques, qu'il s'agisse des entreprises ou de la collectivité. Répondre à un appel d'offres ne me permet donc pas de faire basculer un marché en ma faveur, malgré cette labellisation. Alors oui, nous respectons les normes, nous alourdissons nos coûts de développement, nous nous bridons en qualité d'entrepreneurs au strict respect de la loi, nous standardisons nos réponses, nous cassons même un peu notre innovation, mais cela ne paye pas. La nouvelle économie peut-elle et doit pouvoir bousculer tout ça en changeant le modèle. Ce que moi je propose, c'est l'idée de valoriser l'usage, de fédérer, pour faire adhérer les gens, plutôt que d'aller vers un cadre normatif. Cela libérerait la créativité, la recherche, le développement de solutions alternatives et des approches nouvelles. Comment la Commission européenne peut-elle intégrer un processus de décision d'usage ou de retour d'expérience usagée pour valider une pertinence de produit ou d'un process plutôt que de le régler simplement au strict légal du sens normatif. Merci.
number 384. 384. It's not. Yes?
Grazie Presidente. Klaus Algiere della Camera di Commercio di Cosenza. Uno dei pilastri dell'economia circolare è rappresentato dalla conoscenza della filiera di produzione e di gestione dei rifiuti. Oggi chi gestisce il trasporto rifiuti viene censito in base alla normativa europea. Nel nostro Paese, grazie all'impegno della Camera di Commercio, abbiamo albi completamente informatizzati che sono uno strumento di trasparenza e qualificazione della filiera e garantiscono un sistema di contabilità dei rifiuti attraverso modalità uniformi di raccolta e analisi dei dati. L'obiettivo dell'Unione Europea, nel suo ambizioso pacchetto di misure, è quello di ripensare lo sviluppo del sistema produttivo. Per farlo dovrà ragionare con una logica che valorizza quanto già sviluppato nei singoli Paesi. L'Italia, proprio attraverso le Camere di Commercio, riesce oggi a integrare le informazioni economiche del registro delle imprese a quelle del registro ambientale. Due sistemi informativi telematici che possono scambiarsi informazioni garantendo la conoscenza dell'intero sistema produttivo della filiera. È una buona pratica da portare appena possibile nel livello europeo. Grazie per l'ascolto.
Number 78. You had the floor.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Emilia Ilieva. I am from Bulgaria and speak from a Bulgarian company. We expect from European Union institutions to be more pragmatic, more in line with the needs of the business, and to set a course towards simplification of European rules and reducing administrative burden for business. The service of Bulgarian Chamber of Commerce and Industry among representatives of Bulgarian business indicates their views on the need of higher efficiency on the European administration, including for it to be more active in concluding trade agreements with the new markets, e.g. the USA and Canada. Of the issues raised by company for discussion regarding the function of the European Union is to what extent integration expenses have the necessary return level. One of the hand entrepreneurs are concerned with him, the European Union, the exercise entrepreneurs in the relations. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 487.
Sí, yo represento a Iberdrola, que es una compañía eléctrica española líder en energías renovables. Efectivamente, nuestra sociedad se enfrenta a un problema importante a escala global, que es el cambio climático producido por las emisiones de CO2 y contaminación, lo que causa 400.000 muertes en Europa al año. Nosotros pensamos que la electricidad es el principal vector de energía limpia, sobre todo gracias a la facilidad de su producción con energías renovables, y más con vistas a un futuro, ya que los costes de la generación eléctrica con renovables están descendiendo a ritmos insospechados hace solo un par de años. La descarbonización implica, sin duda, una mayor electrificación sin emisiones, pero, por desgracia, principalmente el sector eléctrico es el que está haciendo los esfuerzos actuales hacia la transición a un sistema energético sostenible, y creemos que el resto de los sectores debe seguir esta tendencia, porque siendo líderes en tecnologías limpias conseguiremos a largo plazo tener una energía más asequible y competitiva. Y hay que desarrollar, en nuestra opinión, políticas adecuadas que necesitan dos elementos. Primero, eliminar la incertidumbre de las políticas energéticas y ambientales para posibilitar inversiones a largo plazo en energía limpia. Y segundo, seguir el principio de que el que contamina paga, para que cada uso energético contribuya al esfuerzo según le corresponda. Muchas gracias.
Number 487. No. Number 3. Yeah. You had the microphone.
Hi. So, sustainable European Union. I think it means that we have to look after the small and medium companies, because most of the members, most of the companies are not multinational companies, but small and medium companies. It means we have to look after, we have to maintain their chance to be a part of the European market. And it means we have to support them with innovation. And I strongly think that agreements like TTIP and CETA are against the local chances. In our country, the 70% of the newly assigned patents are coming from the international multinational companies, and only 30% of the new patent acquirement are the locals. And if we sign these agreements, TTIP and CETA, I think our chance will further demolishing by this. Thank you.
Number 682.
Ich bin Handwerksunternehmerin im Bereich Mode und Präsidentin der Handwerkskammer Bielefeld. Das Thema Nachhaltigkeit wird für unsere Handwerksbetriebe immer bedeutsamer, und die Abkehr von der Wegwerfgesellschaft, dass die stattfinden muss, hat Frau Bonnet uns ja gerade deutlich gemacht. Aber ein Aspekt ist auch, Anreize für die Herstellung langlebiger Produkte zu schaffen. Und zu diesem Zweck sieht der Vorschlag zum europäischen Online-Kaufvertrag vor, dass der Zeitraum, innerhalb dessen bewiesen werden muss, dass die Ware zum Zeitpunkt der Lieferung mangelfrei war, künftig von 6 Monaten auf 2 Jahre verlängert wird, die sogenannte Beweislastumkehr. Und im Rahmen einer Evaluierung des europäischen Verbraucher- und Marketingrechts soll dies sogar auf alle Vertriebswege ausgeweitet werden. Also ich bin sicher, dass die Gewährleistung einer längeren Lebensdauer von Verbrauchsgütern wichtig ist. Sie darf aber nicht mit einer unverhältnismäßigen Belastung unserer Unternehmen verbunden sein. Also die Verlängerung der Beweislast schafft außerdem aus meiner Sicht keinen Anreiz für den Hersteller, ein noch hochwertigeres Produkt zu produzieren. Deswegen möchte ich mit Nachdruck darauf hinweisen, dass die Beweislast weiterhin nur für 6 Monate beim Händler liegen sollte. Alles andere wäre nicht zielführend und würde das Handwerk massiv belasten. Herzlichen Dank.
Number 179.
My name is Andrea Carroll. I'm with South Dublin Chamber of Commerce. I have worked with over 500 small businesses in the last few years on sustainability issues, and I guess I just wanted to point out that the environment and green issues aren't really the only thing that sustainability is about. It's very important that every business realises that sustainability is core and central to their business. You have economic sustainability, which is about making a profit, providing jobs, paying taxes, providing goods and services. Social, about ensuring that we can find labour, customers, and communicate with all of society. And then obviously environmental, from the perspective of energy and resource security, preparing for climate change. But that said, sustainability is important because there are limits to growth. And I think that limits to growth are starting to be acknowledged by the circular economy. But we need the EU to lead on that in terms of helping us build a resilient and sustainable business and economy, but not add additional bureaucracy. A few people have said that already, to SMEs who won't be able to take that on board. Thank you.
Number 240. 240.
Okay. Ονομάζομαι Παύλος Τονικίδης και είμαι αντιπρόεδρος της Κεντρικής Ένωσης Επιμελητηρίων Ελλάδος. Σας ευχαριστώ για το βήμα που μου δίνετε να σας τονίσω ότι εκπροσωπούμε τις μικρομεσαίες επιχειρήσεις της Ευρώπης που αυτή την περίοδο, ιδιαίτερα εδώ και 8 χρόνια, αντέχουν τα τεράστια φορολογικά βάρη που πολλές φορές ξεπερνούν τα έσοδα μιας ετήσιας χρονιάς. Το σημαντικότερο όμως Αγαπητοί μου, είναι ότι οι ελληνικές μικρομεσαίες επιχειρήσεις αδυνατούν αυτή την περίοδο να βρουν ρευστότητα, ιδιαίτερα από τις ελληνικές τράπεζες. Είναι ανάγκη να υπάρξουν εναλλακτικά χρηματοδοτικά εργαλεία όπως ο θεσμός των μικροπιστώσεων. Είναι προφανής λύση για τις επιχειρήσεις. Αποδείξαμε στην Ελλάδα με υλοποίηση ενός διασυνοριακού προγράμματος με στόχο την υποστήριξη και παροχή μικρών δανείων ότι υπάρχει τεράστιο κενό. Αυτό το κενό το έχει αποδείξει μελέτη της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης. Σας καλούμε στοχευμένα να ξεπεράσουμε όλα αυτά τα εμπόδια και να στηρίξουμε τη ρευστότητα των μικρομεσαίων επιχειρήσεων της Ελλάδας που αντέχουν και το προσφυγικό και το στηρίζουν εκπροσωπώντας την Ευρώπη να
Come to an end, please.
Ευχαριστώ πολύ να εφαρμόσουμε τον θεσμό των μικροπιστώσεων που στην Ελλάδα αυτή τη στιγμή αποδεικνύεται από τη μελέτη ότι είναι τεράστια ανάγκη. Σας ευχαριστώ.
Thank you. Number 18.
Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, ich möchte an den Kollegen aus Spanien anschließen. Ich bin Sprecher der Grünen Wirtschaft Österreich und vertrete zahlreiche kleine Unternehmen aus dem Bereich erneuerbare Energien. Im ersten Antrag, über den wir abstimmen werden, ist von einer Förderung erneuerbarer Energien die Rede. Wir sollten uns aber nicht über den Begriff Förderung den Kopf zerbrechen, sondern als Unternehmer Kostenwahrheit einfordern. Wenn es endlich Kostenwahrheit im Energiebereich gäbe und wenn die Fossilwirtschaft und die großen Atomkonzerne endlich für alle Kosten aufkommen müssten, die ihre Energieträger verursachen, wären erneuerbare Energieträger mit einem Schlag konkurrenzfähig. Solange dieser Zustand also nicht hergestellt ist, sollten wir nicht von Förderung sprechen, sondern von einem legitimen Schmerzensgeld und von einem legitimen Schadenersatz für ständige und politisch gewollte Marktverzerrung. Und das Prinzip Kostenwahrheit gilt sicherlich auch für die Kreislaufwirtschaft. Herzlichen Dank.
Number 318. I'm sorry.
From Latvia, and I'm representing EcoBalti, which is the largest vertically integrated waste management company in Baltics. And I think I would like to raise two issues in respect of circular economy. First thing is that kind of makes our concerns that we see an increasing presence of municipal companies in the sector and closure of the market, which diminishes the number of private companies operating in this field. And the second issue that is also worrying me is that we are a living example of circular economy, but after the whole recycling process we have to fight with our end products with competitors coming from China, and with our European prices and production technologies it's almost impossible to win this fight. So I would encourage the European Parliament to look for incentives to support the promotion of recycled products in our daily life.
Number 692.
İyi günler. Türkiye'den Mülki Aytar. Kozmetra şirketinin sahibiyim. Aynı zamanda Türkiye Odalar Borsalar Birliği Avrupa Kadın Komisyonu Başkanıyım. Benim sorum sürdürülebilirlikle ilgili. Avrupa Birliği'ndeki ekonomik ve mali sorunlar ile bazı üye ülkelerde yaşanması beklenen ciddi bütçe kesintileri göz önüne alındığında yeni belirlenen hedefleri tüm Avrupa Birliği üye ülkeler için ne kadar gerçekçi buluyorsunuz? Thank you.
Number 609.
Schweiger, mittelständisches Unternehmen der Energiewirtschaft aus Deutschland. Zum Thema Better Regulation, nachhaltige Energie- und Umweltpolitik. Nachhaltigkeit ist ein elementares Ziel der Energiewirtschaft. Nachhaltigkeit bildet ebenso den Leitgedanken beim Umweltschutz. Energie- und umweltspezifische Anforderungen stehen aber nicht immer in einem kongruenten Verhältnis zueinander. Die daraus resultierende Konfliktsituation bildet eine schwierige Aufgabe für den Gesetzgeber der Mitgliedstaaten und übergeordnet der Europäischen Union. Derzeit finden wir in unserer Energiebranche ein sehr kompliziertes und unsicheres Rechtssystem vor. Als Unternehmer werden wir bei der praktischen Rechtsumsetzung tagtäglich mit einer sehr komplexen Materie konfrontiert. Selbst die Kommission hat das Problem erkannt und auf höchster Ebene 2013 die Agenda Better Regulation eingeführt. Die Initiative wird aber nur dann funktionieren, wenn man sie konsequent von der EU-Ebene bis zur untersten Vollzugsbehörde in den Mitgliedstaaten transportiert. Für uns Unternehmen stellt sich dabei die Frage, ob diese gute Idee nur auf der EU-Ebene praktiziert wird oder ob sie notwendigerweise auch in den Mitgliedstaaten durchgesetzt werden kann. In unserem Fall für eine mittelstandsfreundliche und umweltverträgliche Energiewirtschaft, die den Nachhaltigkeitsanforderungen voll und ganz gerecht wird. Auch für die Regulierung gilt der Nachhaltigkeitsgrundsatz.
Number 644. 644.
I am a representative of the recycled companies in Albania. Thank you for the possibility to speak in this meeting. I would like to say two problems. Firstly, in Albania, from 3 years, is forbidden to import raw materials, secondary raw materials for our industry, which have put our industry in big problems, in big difficulties. I believe that the laws of the European Community have to be the same because our market functions like in the European Community with the same laws. Secondly, I would like to say one very important thing. In Albania, all banks are European Community banks, but unfortunately they are working in not the same principles. We have facing the interest 7.5%, and you must understand how we can be competitive in the European Community market. Thank you very much.
$479. No, it's 429 probably. No. Yes.
4-2.
Yes.
Sí, buenas tardes. Una intervención. Sostenibilidad va de mano de un mercado plenamente integrado y competitivo, donde la energía pueda fluir libremente a través de las fronteras. No podremos desarrollar energías renovables si nuestros mercados siguen fragmentados y sin las adecuadas interconexiones de gas y electricidad. Nuestras empresas tienen que ser más competitivas y para ello el precio de la energía no puede ser muy diferente entre los Estados miembros. Necesitamos un mercado interior auténticamente único, integrado, y para ello, una vez más, interconexiones de gas y electricidad son fundamentales, especialmente para aquellos países que están en la periferia del mercado interior y que necesitan estar mejor conectados con el resto de Europa. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. And now we come to the questions to be voted. Thank you very much for all that wanted to intervene, but time is limited, as you can see. But we will take into consideration your questions. If you will send us the questions, we will re-forward those questions to the institutional representatives that will give us answers. Question number 1. Can we show the question number 1, please? We cannot show the question number 1, apparently. Here it is. Are national support schemes an adequate instrument to support renewables? Please vote. For those that have not inserted the card, please do it. Otherwise, you cannot vote. The voting session is closing now. And the results are 215 believes that they are not adequate instrument, while 141 believes they are. Thank you very much. Second question. Should energy audits become mandatory for SMEs? Please vote. Yes. Yes. Great. You have your credit card? Just put your credit card. It doesn't cost money. Just do it. No, no, I'm not kidding.
Or the
Yeah,
hotel
with
card.
whatever.
We should not vote. We are neutral.
The voting session is closing now, and the results are 298 believes they should become mandatory, 104 believes they should not become mandatory. Thank you. Third question.
It was the contrary, I think.
Well, was the contrary?
I think.
Go back to the...
It was the contrary.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So 298 believes that they should not become compulsory. I'm sorry. I'm trying to drive a different path. And 104 believe they should. Okay. Now, question. Do you expect the EU economy to benefit from the measures proposed in the circular economy package? Please vote.
The problem they have took out the question from the screen. Yes. Yes. I hope so. Let's vote yes. Why not? Yes. I will do one of these.
No, no, no. It's there. There. Yeah, yeah. No, no, but you should put bottom. Okay, the voting session is closing now. And the results are... Now, if you just don't keep the question there, I cannot read it. Anyhow. Do you expect... Yes, 267 believes that the EU economy will benefit from measures proposed from the circular economy. 47 believes they will not. Question number 4. Would more complex environmental design standards undermine the global competitiveness of European products? Please vote.
I'm sure they'll say yes. Because everybody wants to protect it. Look, everything is green.
It depends on the...
No, I read.
You want to vote?
Stupid.
How many do you have?
Here, vote. The session is closing now. And the results are 338 believes that the more complex environmental design standards will undermine the global competitiveness of European products. Thank you. Next question. Do you believe there is significant demand for more green products? Please vote. Voting session is closing now, and the results are 361 believes that yes, there is a significant demand for more green products. Thank you. Last question. The last question Can we put it on screen? Thank you. Should there be mandatory environmental criteria in public procurement? Please vote. Voting session is closing now. And the results are 294 believe yes, there should be mandatory environmental criteria in public procurement, while 119 believes they should not. Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to our friend, Daniel Calleja Crespo, Director General of DG Environment. He will try to give us answers in minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It has been a pleasure to listen to all the questions and to participate in this very, very interesting experience. Thank you also for allowing me to vote. I don't know if it was possible, but I have voted on some of the points, thanks to a credit card I got from the chairman.
This is an ID card.
I would like to say that it is extremely important that we have a very open and a very frank discussion on the biggest challenge which we have ahead of us. And the biggest challenge that we have ahead of us is ensuring this competitive, sustainable, this new model of growth which has been mentioned, because the circular economy is above all about changing the economic model, closing the loop, changing from the linear traditional model to this more sustainable process where whenever you are designing your product, you are consuming, you are producing, and then when you are recycling, you have this virtuous circle which can bring economic, environmental, and significant social benefits for our companies and for our citizens. The circular economy is also about skills, about innovation, about growth, about jobs, about industrial policy, because Europe needs more industry, and this is also something very important. I will try to answer the questions, but there were many, some of them a little bit more difficult than others, but I will do my best. First of all, je voudrais m'adresser à notre collègue français qui a posé la question de cette entreprise digitale et les produits labellisés. Et il disait qu'il faut changer les modèles, il faut que l'Union européenne ne considère pas seulement des questions réglementaires, mais qu'on regarde des mesures volontaires. Et je voudrais marquer mon accord avec son affirmation. L'Europe doit promouvoir l'innovation, nous devons travailler sur des modèles, sur des mesures volontaires, sur les standards, sur la écolabellisation des produits, sur la éco-conception, sur les éco-audits, pas nécessairement de règles contraignantes, mais un ensemble intelligent de mesures qui peuvent nous amener à ces changements de modèle. Following that, I would like to answer the question of our Italian colleague from the Chamber of Commerce, who was putting on the table a very important point. Should we have more environmental information about the companies, and could the Chambers of Commerce play a role in this sense? And should the Commission propose something at European level? I think this is an issue which is very important. We have seen the vote on is it likely that there will be more interest in green products. Information on the sustainability of companies is increasingly important. Sharing this information, using the Enterprise Europe network, using the Chambers of Commerce, it is a very important experience. But before proposing a European regulation on this, I would like to see if this can be developed on a voluntary basis by the Chambers of Commerce. Our colleague from Bulgaria, number 78, was asking for EU institutions to be more business friendly, to go for simplification of rules, to cut administrative burden, and I would like to reassure him this is the way in which we are trying to go. We are reviewing systematically European legislation, we are doing fitness checks, we are consulting before changing new rules, we are doing impact assessments, but we need to do more. And we need to know from you which are the areas in which there are problems so that we can improve the quality of legislation. Nuestro amigo de Iberdrola se refería al desafío del cambio climático y al grave coste que tiene para la Unión Europea la cifra de 400.000 muertes prematuras al año y el gran papel que puede jugar la electricidad en la agenda mundial de descarbonización. Después del Acuerdo de París es esencial. Quisiera felicitar a Iberdrola por esa iniciativa innovadora ciclista de ir hasta la COP22 a Marrakech en bicicleta para luchar contra el cambio climático. Creo que estas iniciativas simbólicas también ayudan mucho en esta agenda, pero quisiera decirle que las dos medidas que proponía, promover inversiones y el principio del que contamina paga, son dos principios fundamentales. El plan Juncker, Horizonte 2020, la iniciativa de reforzar la inversión, de cubrir el déficit de 500.000 millones de euros que tenemos en Europa respecto a la precrisis con estos fondos es importantísimo, y el principio del que contamina paga está en el tratado. Y Europa, y tiene razón, debe liderar el cambio en este ámbito, no solamente porque es fundamental para nuestro planeta, sino porque hay grandísimas oportunidades comerciales para nuestras empresas. I would like now to turn to question number 310, which dealt with sustainable growth and the implications for SMEs, but more particularly the issues of access to markets. Here I have a different view because our colleague was saying that he was seeing concerns for SMEs out of the trade agreements. I would like to say that trade agreements are also an opportunity. Opening up markets bring opportunities for our companies, and I think that we should also integrate this in our analysis. Internationalization is one of the ways for companies to grow. There are opportunities, and I think we should do more, and we should connect better value chains, and I think we should not look at this always from a negative viewpoint, because there are also important challenges, and in many trade agreements, SMEs can be the big winners. But we have to negotiate on a balanced conditions. We should not give more than we get. And this is, I think, the challenge. We need to make sure that the trade agreements are balanced and that the rules of the game are fair. Our German colleague, number 682, was wondering about the internal market and recycling, and in particular the extension to 24 months from 6 months in the extended producer responsibility schemes. I would agree with the intervention in the sense that we should try not to overburden the business, but I think also it is important to highlight that extended producer responsibility can play a role with minimal requirements, which is what we put, with incentives, and that take-back schemes are also a source of business opportunities. So I think we have to integrate this, and of course the Commission's proposals are under discussion, and we are happy to see whether in the discussion we have to move from 6 to 24 months. We see exactly how the discussion goes. Our colleague from Ireland, number 179 in the Chamber of Commerce, was saying that sustainability is not only environmental, it is economical, it is social, it is environmental, and that the EU should be leading on the circular economy without additional bureaucracy for SMEs. Your words were music to my ears. This is what we have to do. This is what is behind the strategy for the circular economy, and I think we need to work together, European institutions, member states, companies, regions, to make sure that we can succeed in this difficult challenge. Our colleague number 240 from Greece, I think your name, Pavlos, was mentioning the difficulties of access to finance in Greece, and I think we are very much aware about this problem. He was highlighting the importance of microcredits, and I would like to say in situations of difficulty of access to finance, we need to mobilize national funds, European funds, and we need also to fight against delays in payment, because this is also a source of problems for the companies. We have venture capital, which we have to promote. We have the COSME program, Horizon 2020, the role of regional funds. This is a very important effort, and the improvement of economic conditions should also lead to an improvement of credit. Question number 18 from Austria was about the green economy in Austria. And how do we promote renewable energy to make sure that it takes into account the costs? And I think on this point, you are putting your finger on a very important issue. What we have to avoid is to prevent national subsidies that distort and restrain from sending the wrong message to investors. And one of the best ways to support renewable energy is by getting energy prices right. And it is by phasing out subsidies and other support to certain sources of energy which are not in the right direction in the process of decarbonization. We believe that there is also opportunities for innovation and that support schemes should be as much as possible market-based and well-targeted to the energy sources that really provide benefits for the whole society. And renewables is essential in our strategy. Our colleague from Latin, number 318, was raising two issues in relation to management and to management of waste. The problem of municipal companies going up and private companies going down. I think we need both. We need municipal, but we need a lot of private companies that can develop because there are business models and new opportunities in this area. And he was also mentioning the problems of unfair competition with China. And I would like to reassure him in the sense that the Commission is trying now to take strong measures, trade defence instruments, whenever we see that there is unfair competition. Whenever we have complaints, we need to take action. We need to have a more balanced trade policy, and I think it is extremely important that we integrate it in our strategy. Our colleague from Turkey was at the back speaking about durability and the situation of candidate countries, and this was also echoed by our colleague from Albania. I think in relation to candidate countries, it is very important not to wait for all the negotiations, but to start looking at European rules and to start adapting and aligning the legislation in this area. This will facilitate trade, this will reduce the barriers, and I think we need to look at the whole range of measures, from energy, from raw materials, the situation of banks, all play an important role. Our colleague from Germany was complaining about legal uncertainty and imbalance in energy sectors. I think the Energy Union initiative tries to address this. Europe needs to have an energy union if we want more affordable, more competitive and more sustainable energy. And finally, para terminar, quisiera concluir con la pregunta número 429 de nuestro colega español, que abogaba por un mercado interior fluido, en el que no se puede competir si somos víctimas de la fragmentación. Y decía con toda la razón que las interconexiones son clave. No se puede tener un mercado interior si algunas regiones de Europa son islas energéticas. No se puede tener energía abordable y competitividad para las empresas si en vez de tener un mercado único tenemos 28 mercados fragmentados. No se puede tener seguridad de aprovisionamiento si en vez de beneficiarnos del potencial del poder de compra de 500 consumidores, cada país negocia por su cuenta en condiciones peores que las que si negociáramos unidos. So, in conclusion, I would like to say that I am very encouraged by all the questions, by the debate. I see the circular economy and sustainable development, as many have said, as a great opportunity for Europe. But in order to succeed, we need to work together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Another long session of answers for you, but we really appreciate the effort. Thank you very much. Now let's go on the fourth and last session of this European Parliament of Enterprises 2016. The session will be on skills. And while I welcome the institutional representatives coming on the podium, I will ask you to look carefully to the video that we have prepared. Please play the video. Now let me welcome our scene setter, Alan Pal, the Secretary General of the European Youth Forum. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to speak in this chamber to you on an issue which is absolutely crucial from the perspective of young people. In many ways, we get hope from the fact that we are the most educated generation today, but we fear at the same time that despite this, the world is changing so fast that this is not enough. Oh, I survived. Thank you. As we embark on a fourth industrial revolution, we've witnessed the hollowing of many traditional jobs. And so we know that we need to really reinvent many things. And education remains probably the best and only guarantee in this future, but it's no longer about more education, but it's about us getting to become more clever. Skills mismatch is an obvious and real concern, and we recognize that although youth unemployment is going down, it's currently at 18% or around, still rather bad, but it's also very different from country to country. But if you look beyond that figure, we see that up to 1 of 3 young people are either in jobs for which they are under or overqualified for. But let's not put the blame on young people, and let's look at what we can do. Partly, our economies are failing to create jobs, so we need more investment. On the other hand, we have not perhaps counseled young people to take alternative paths, such as vocational education, or dare become entrepreneurs. We don't nearly have enough good examples for young people in terms of role models. In this very fastly changing economy, so the question is, how can we adjust young people and people to adjust in this situation? And solutions are twofold. Of course, at the European level, we must get our economic, monetary and fiscal policies correct to support investment. And this is where EU can do a lot. But I don't want to focus on this right now, because if you look at the long term, we realize that the basic obstacle is in the fact that our educational system is failing in many ways. There are lots of good things, but is it good enough? First, it's way too formal. Our educators, formal educators, think almost that they hold a monopoly on learning. Then it's also very rigid, very difficult to change. Just imagine the poor teachers who always have to discuss what to change in a curricula which is already overcrowded, and where they're expected to only add things instead of think about how to change the way that we teach. And for many teachers, they come with academic perspectives, and they're measured on the performance of students based on standardized testing. So we have things that we really need to change. And we want to encourage teachers that bring practitioners and entrepreneurs into classrooms, that go out of the school's environment and do project-based learning. And the role of the teachers in our societies is absolutely crucial. Mind you, in societies, not in the classroom only. So our aim should be to get best and the brightest young people into teaching positions, because soon we will have no choice. Today, in many European countries, the average age of teachers is already so high that even if we take urgent action to fill those positions with young people, we will fail to still fill in the gaps. So we will lack skilled teachers soon enough. But let's see this as an opportunity to change things. Today, OECD countries spend on average $8,000 to $9,000 US dollars per student in their educational systems, mostly public money. Let's imagine if we take a year out of that investment and invest that differently in a wholly different educational experience. We could assign them learning credits for developing themselves outside the formal education, in an environment where collaboration and teamwork, developing leadership skills and communication, creativity are at the heart of the learning, not regurgitating facts as we often see in formal education. Does this sound familiar? Yes, because this is what happens in work-based education. This is what happens when young people participate in youth organizations, when they do projects in their communities. And we already know that economies that focus, or for example have a very good work-based learning system, have much lower unemployment. But instead of imagining complicated policy reforms directed from a European level, we should think, how can we reshuffle some of these resources directly to young people, families, enterprises, youth organizations to make this happen? It would be a game changer, I think, if we start thinking in this ways. 12 years at school, does it matter? 11 years, maybe we can change the part of that education. Basic skills are absolutely crucial, but without the transversal skills, and this is where our formal education fails, we will not have the future where we need to be ready for an automated economy, circular economy, and many other things to look forward to. When we look at things like the skills guarantee, well, again, how can we tap into bottom-up solutions when we look at that? We've learned from the youth guarantee that despite the policy intervention needed to bring young people that are far away from the labour market back in, we see that if we do that from a European level, it's very long and winding, can be complicated, and the coordination can sometimes even be discouraging for reform. So we need game changers in the education. And, well, what can EU do directly otherwise? Today, and I'll end on this point, we spend €2 per young person for programs like Erasmus. Surely we can look at the European budget, which is a drop in the ocean, but is it the right drop in the ocean? But surely we can see how can we increase that €2 and make sure that that goes beyond the traditional university exchanges to encourage work-based education and project-based learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alan. Now I ask you once again to raise your hand if you want to intervene in this session. Please do it.
You had a good speech, see? People.
Or many questions.
Just keep your hands up. Thank you. Okay. We have taken notes of all those. Thank you very much. Now, and I start giving the floor to number 207, 207.
Bonsoir, Catherine Huvelin, chocolaterie Michel Huvelin, entreprise artisanale française. Chaque année, nous formons un apprenti au métier de chocolatier. L'apprentissage en entreprise permet une formation professionnelle complète et qualifiante pour l'apprenti. Elle lui ouvre les portes à un métier, à l'entrepreneuriat et à une belle carrière professionnelle. Pour nous, chefs d'entreprise, l'apprentissage nous permet de préparer l'avenir de nos entreprises et de transmettre nos savoir-faire. Malheureusement, l'apprentissage en entreprise souffre d'un déficit d'image auprès des parents et des professeurs, et il est parfois difficile de trouver des candidats. Il est primordial de valoriser ce mode de formation en entreprise. Il serait intéressant, par exemple, de mettre en place à l'école une découverte, une formation à l'entrepreneuriat avec, par exemple, la mise en place de la création d'une mini-entreprise sur une année scolaire. Et il serait intéressant de favoriser la mobilité des apprentis afin de leur permettre d'enrichir leur expérience dans d'autres pays européens. Merci.
Number 108, 108.
Hello. Borislav Vujovic, I am representing real estate brokers from Croatia. This moment we have very strictly law in Croatia who can be broker or cannot be broker, and we have exams and education and everything. This moment a lot of real estate brokers from other EU countries coming to Croatia and make business, but without control. We don't know are they registered in countries where they are from, and they do a lot of damage on our market. Government cannot control them, and can you improve something about that? Thank you.
Number 113, 113.
Hello, I'm representing Controlling Cognosco company, specialized for implementation of the function of controlling in the private and public sectors. After becoming a member of the European Union, Croatia has accepted the basic principles concerning the legal requirements regarding free market competition strategy Europe 2020. whose main aim is to modernise the public sector as the public service for citizens, economy and investors. The interrelation between investments from taxpayers and the benefits that the public sector should deliver proves to be a very complex issue. The function of controlling, which deals with successful management in the process of developing management mechanisms, plays a very important role here. Given the past track record, we are aware how scarce the know-how about controlling is within our public sector. Our question is the following. Is there a possibility to pay more attention to the hands-on experience of transfer of practical knowledge and experience from countries that managed to significantly improve their public sectors using controlling functions, especially means Germany and Austria, because without the practical transfer of know-how and skills in that area, we will not be able to achieve the main goal, the modernisation of the public sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 357.
President, as we compete in the global economy, best skills have a comparative advantage on the rest in terms of productivity and innovation. The EU skills agenda rightly addresses many issues dealing with education and training, with initiatives that aim to shape the European labour market of the future. Institutional collaboration and societal engagement are the key to address the challenging issues. Priority lies in having a labour force which is well equipped with digital and STEM skills, ongoing professional development and active ageing. Enterprises have a role to play. Through quality apprenticeships, our youth can benefit from a smooth transition between school and the world of work. On the job, experiences should become further integrated in the educational process. Finally, we need to attract high skilled workers from third countries through facilitation of entry process. The revision of the Blue Card Directive is the right approach, yet the flexibility of national schemes should be retained. Upon Malta's forthcoming presidency of the European Union, our Chamber, of which I am Vice President, is committed to bring these issues we are discussing today to the forefront of the European agenda via our government. I invite you to consult us during our presidency for our support. Thank you.
Number 720. Wait a second, you have no mic. 720. There's no microphone at 720? Yes.
Hello. Yes. I'm representing Greater Manchester Chamber of Commerce. SMEs and the education system speak very different languages, and often there's not much appetite for them to speak to each other at all. Countries like Germany and Austria are making strides in overcoming these issues through increased intermediation and employer-led skills. A scheme set up by Greater Manchester Chamber of Commerce in 2013 attempted to replicate this by speaking directly to businesses, allowing them to design bespoke training courses and then taking these requirements straight to training providers. This scheme, in its first year, delivered more apprenticeships than Greater London and over a quarter of the UK total. If such a small-scale scheme can be so successful, is it not time for a wider policy supporting higher levels of intermediation and putting the needs of ordinary businesses back at the heart of the skills agenda? Thank you.
Number 302.
Καλησπέρα σας. Λέγομαι Αγνιάδης και είμαι από τη Λιβαδιά, μια μικρή πόλη της Ελλάδος, πλησίων των Δελφών, που κατά την αρχαιότητα ήταν ο ομφαλός της γης, το κέντρο της γης. Ένα από τα θέματα που πρέπει να αποσχολήσουν την ευρωπαϊκή επιμελητηριακή κοινότητα είναι το θέμα της διδασκαλίας της επιχειρηματικότητας στα σχολεία και ειδικότερα στην πρωτοβάθμια εκπαίδευση, παράλληλα δε στη χώρα μας και στα προσφυγόπουλα και στα παιδιά των μεταναστών που υπάρχουν διάσπαρτα στη χώρα μας. Πρέπει αυτό να θεσπιστεί από το Ευρωεπιμελητήριο σε όλες τις χώρες με ειδικά κλαδικά επιχειρηματικά βραβεία ώστε να δώσουμε τη δυνατότητα στους μικρούς μαθητές να διαλέξουν πιο εύκολα το δρόμο του επαγγελματικού προσανατολισμού, ειδικά στον τεχνικό τομέα, που με συνδυασμό με την εξέλιξη και τις νέες τεχνολογίες να προσφέρουν περισσότερο στο ευρωπαϊκό επιχειρήν. Είναι το μόνο εργαλείο, το μόνο όπλο που μας έχει μείνει, είναι η ενημέρωση που την δίνουν με επιτυχία τα επιμελητήρια. Πρέπει να την εκμεταλλευτούμε και να την περάσουμε μέσα από τη μαθητιώσα νεολαία μας που διψάει και αγωνιά για ένα καλύτερο αύριο. Επίσης μια ειδική μέριμνα για τα ταλαιπωρημένα παιδιά των προσφύγων. Ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Number 744.
Engel, komme aus Deutschland und Geschäftsführerin eines BMW Autohauses im Ruhrgebiet. Als Unternehmerin bin ich der festen Überzeugung, dass Bildung, und ich meine hier die berufliche Bildung, die Aus- und Weiterbildung, eine wichtige Voraussetzung zur Lösung unserer europäischen Aufgaben ist. Ohne Bildung gibt es keine Beschäftigungsfähigkeit und keine berufliche Perspektive. Und ohne Bildung gibt es letztendlich dann auch keinen wirtschaftlichen Erfolg. Qualifizierte Mitarbeiterinnen und Mitarbeiter sind entscheidend für die Wettbewerbsfähigkeit unserer Unternehmen und damit auch für die europäische Wirtschaft. Nach meinen eigenen Erfahrungen kann die Ausbildung im Betrieb auch den Ländern mit hoher Jugendarbeitslosigkeit helfen, das Problem zu überwinden. Wir geben unser Know-how da gerne an die Kollegen aus dem Ausland weiter. Letztendlich muss Europa ein echter, ein ganzheitlicher Arbeitsmarkt werden, damit die Fachkräfte zur rechten Zeit am rechten Ort sind. Eine Mobilitätsquote von derzeit 2% ist absolut unbefriedigend. Neben der Politik sind aber auch wir Unternehmer gefragt. Wir müssen den jungen Menschen aus dem Ausland Praktikumsplätze anbieten und sie bei uns in den Unternehmen mit einer großen Willkommenskultur begrüßen. Vielen Dank.
Number 11.
Mein Name ist Martha Schulz, ich bin österreichische Unternehmerin in der Tourismus- und Baubranche. Für uns sind gut ausgebildete Fachkräfte wichtig. Und zurzeit bilden wir in unserem Unternehmen ca. 40 junge Menschen aus in 13 verschiedenen Berufsbildern. Wichtig ist mir aber auch, arbeitsmarktrelevante Kompetenzen zu vermitteln. Das heißt, den Unternehmergeist zu fördern, den Spirit des Unternehmertums. Und hier möchte ich gerne den österreichischen Unternehmerführerschein vorstellen. Es ist ein modulares Ausbildungssystem für alle Schultypen und für die Oberstufe. Es beinhaltet auch ein Zertifikat. Das Schöne daran, in Österreich haben schon 33.000 Jugendliche dieses Zertifikat erhalten und die Europäische Kommission hat diesen Führerschein schon ausgezeichnet. Herzlichen Dank für Ihre Aufmerksamkeit.
Number 223.
By 2030, 50% of jobs across Europe will be related to STEM. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering and maths. Now let's talk about our current education system across Europe at present and why it is not fit for purpose. Our schools are teaching our children today in two-dimensional ways, through textbooks. It's not engaging them. And the reason for that is because our brains are wired to think in 3D, in three-dimensional ways. What's the solution to this? The solution is very simple. It's educational play. It's bringing children's worlds into the classrooms. It's teaching kids through toys and games, things that they're used to playing with each and every day of their lives. This will engage them, and this will impact on their future careers by engaging them in areas such as science, technology, engineering and maths at the critical ages of between 5 and 13. That's the solution for the next generation. But what about the current generation? Our school leavers, our early school leavers. Apprenticeships are the solution to youth unemployment across Europe today. But our apprenticeships are not fit for purpose either. Our apprenticeships need to be adapted to the current needs of local industry in each and every one of our member states. They need to be adapted in terms of the duration from 4 years maybe to 1, 2 and 3 years. So that's what the plan is in relation to dealing with our youth unemployment today. Thank you.
Number 451. 451. Oh, 459, I'm sorry. 459. Have I taken incorrectly? Okay. Now, number 234.
Nee, 450.
Micro. Push.
Oui, bonjour. André Kérizit, donc société basée à Limoges et société, je dirais, européenne. Je crois qu'il faut intégrer le plus tôt possible dans la chaîne de valeur de l'entreprise les jeunes, mais pas seulement les jeunes, aussi les professeurs qui doivent revenir toucher du terrain les complexités ou dans le terrain les complexités, tout autant que nos hommes politiques qui, de temps en temps, oublient que par les lois qu'ils créent, nous éloignent de la valeur première qui est l'intégration dans nos sociétés. Merci.
Thank you. 459.
Also 450 habe ich, ne? 450. Herr Präsident, bevor meine Zeit beginnt, möchte ich mal Sie fragen, ob dieses Gebäude keine Klimaanlage hat. Weil hier ist sehr warm. So, mein Name ist Salih Tastirek, ich komme aus Deutschland, ich habe ein mittelständisches Unternehmen und ich bin auch in Deutschland IHK-Vizepräsident in der Nähe von Frankfurt. Wenn wir Jugendarbeitslosigkeit haben und wenn Unternehmer Fachkräfte nicht finden, dann stimmt was ja nicht. Das heißt, wir haben auf einer Seite Arbeitslosigkeit, Jugendarbeitslosigkeit und auf der anderen Seite fehlen Fachkräfte. Und Europa lebt von Technologie verkaufen, Technologieexport. Und das können wir nur erreichen, wenn wir speziell ausgebildete Fachkräfte haben. Das ist, denke ich, sehr wichtig für diese Wertegemeinschaft, für diese starke Gemeinschaft wie Europa. Deswegen muss die EU alles tun, dass in Zukunft sehr viele Fachkräfte ausbildet. Dankeschön.
Number 36. 36.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I see on one hand we have 5 kinds of mismatching, and on the other hand we have also a mismatching in the member states from the available jobs. First, 5 kinds of mismatch, like I see it, it's a skill shortage, qualification mismatch, over or under qualification, a skill gap, and over or under skilling. So on the other hand, I said it's also a mismatch of the availability in the member states of the jobs. What does that mean? We in Belgium, we need more nurses than in Portugal. So how can we have the solution? So I think we have to have a collaborative strategy on the long term. And what's necessary here, and for me crucial, is that we have a common language. And with this I want to say a second common language. I will not express myself which language, I will not dare to say, but that everybody is using his first language, his cultural heritage, but that everybody then understands that a nurse who is working in Belgium can speak in English. And why I say long term? Because if my grandmother, who never learned English, she cannot understand. So it's a long-term solution. Thank you.
Number 621, 621.
I'm Eleanor, entrepreneur from Germany, and considering the debate on digitization that we're also having, I think there is something really important missing in this debate here, namely the vast opportunities that also are in this whole thing. Namely, in parts of Germany we have almost zero unemployment. That means companies cannot grow because they can't find labour, they can't find skilled people. And lots of the solutions that we discuss require migration. But this is not something that is absolutely necessary in today's world, because there are so many jobs like marketing, social media marketing, web development, programming that can be done remote, and people could stay at home and within their countries, and would bring a huge benefit for those places where there are jobs and where there is work that cannot be done and where there are people who are unemployed. But what that requires is that there is training on those relevant areas, and I believe that is a huge benefit, a win-win for both sides.
Number 464, 464.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Zaitar from, I represent Polish Halal Institute and I came from Poland. We all agree that employees should be trained, but we find difficulties and constraints in our market, which is halal market, which represents about 10% from the European market and 35% from the worldwide market. But there is a lack of legislation and a lack of laws, so we find constraints and difficulties to train our employees. And if we don't control this market, we cannot train the employees. And as you know, this market rises 20% every year. So my question is, will you check or will you try to find laws and legislations to organise this market and to protect consumers and well organised companies? Thank you.
Number 641, 641.
Κύριε Πρόεδρε, ευχαριστώ. Είχα ετοιμάσει την ερώτησή μου για την προηγούμενη ενότητα, ωστόσο θα την προσαρμόσω, γιατί μιλώντας σαν νησιώτης επιχειρηματίας, αντλώ την εμπειρία μου από την ενασχόλησή μου με το Insular, το δίκτυο των νησιωτικών επιμελητηρίων της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης, του οποίου είμαι και πρόεδρος, ονομάζομαι Γιώργος Μπενέτος και είναι και μέλος της ομάδας 174. Είναι σημαντικό να αναφέρουμε ότι η Ευρώπη δεν είναι όλη μία πεδιάδα. Αυτό σημαίνει ότι όλα όσα αναφέρονται από άλλους συναδέλφους σε αυτή την αίθουσα, καταλαβαίνετε ότι όταν μιλάμε για νησιά, πολλαπλασιάζονται οι δυσκολίες. Ωστόσο, υπάρχει ένα σημαντικό ανθρώπινο δυναμικό στα νησιά, το οποίο έχει δεξιότητες, αλλά σε αυτό θα πρέπει να προσθέσουμε και άλλες και δεν είναι εύκολο να γίνει. Γι' αυτό θέλουμε τη δική σας αρρωγή, την αρρωγή όλων, προκειμένου να εκπαιδευτεί αυτό το ανθρώπινο δυναμικό τόσο στον εποχιακό τουρισμό, όσο και σε βιοτεχνικές δραστηριότητες ήπιας μορφής. Αυτά όλα έχουν επισημανθεί από το Ευρωπαϊκό Κοινοβούλιο, έχει ομόφωνα αποφασίσει και έχει βγάλει ψήφισμα το Φεβρουάριο του 2016 και προτείνει στην Επιτροπή των Περιφερειών, στην Ευρωπαϊκή Επιτροπή, στο Συμβούλιο, στα κράτη-μέλη να πάρουν ειδικές αποφάσεις λόγω της ειδικής κατάστασης στα νησιά. Ευχαριστώ για τον χρόνο σας. Θα μπορούσα να πω πολλά, να σας διοχετετήσω. Ευχαριστώ.
Come to an end, please. Okay. Now, I know that many of you would be disappointed, but we need to close here the interventions and go for the voting session. Please show the first of the questions that will be voted on the screen. Should work-based learning be integral to all initial vocational education and training programs? The voting session is open. I know that the session has been long, but you seem to be very slow in voting now. Okay, the voting session closes now, and the results are almost everyone believes that yes, they should be integrated. Thank you. Question number 2. Would you be willing to host a refugee in your business as a trainee or apprentice? Please vote. This is much faster. The voting session is closing now, and the results are almost unanimously you voted yes, you will be willing to host a refugee. Thank you. Next question. Next question. It is harder to recruit staff with the right skills than 5 years ago. Please vote. The voting session is closing now, and the results are yes, indeed, 283 among you believe that it is harder to recruit somebody today than 5 years ago. Thank you. Next question. Is a skills guarantee an efficient tool in reducing unemployment? Please vote. Okay, the voting session is closing now, and the results are splitted. 198 believes yes, and 158 believes no. Thank you. Next question. Should entrepreneurship education be introduced at all levels of formal educations? Please vote. Like the first question. The voting session is closing now, and the results are 391 believe yes, it should be introduced. Thank you. Last question. Does a lack of transparency between national qualification systems discourage you from employing staff from other member states? Please vote. The voting session closes now, and the results are 238 believes that the lack of transparency indeed discourages you from employing from other member states, while 134 believes that this is not the case. And with this, we end our marathon of voting sessions. Thank you to all, and I give the floor now to our institutional respondent, which is Martina Jabajova, that will give us her perspective on the remarks that you had made. the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Arnaldo. And I just love this thing. I hope I can do it with the Eurochambres every year. Because, you know, you can't imagine how does it feel to be sitting here and watching you voting, because usually I am sitting, of course, there and voting. And it's really interesting, and I'm happy that you can feel how do we feel when we are in this plenary room. Of course, this topic is my main topic, my main priority. And it's a main priority because 2 years and a couple of months ago, I was an entrepreneur. I am in politics only the first mandate in the European Parliament, so I am lucky to have seen all these problems and challenges from both sides. And I know that one of the main challenges we just have right now is to find a right relationship, cooperation and partnership between businesses and politicians. And I think it's a main challenge we all have together. I succeeded to write all questions, all numbers of speakers, all member states of speakers, but I will not answer one by one. Because what is interesting, and I must say that I am very happy about that, there are very common topics. In all your speeches, there were very common topics, so I will address them generally, and I will talk about the main challenges as I see them from the European Parliament. First one, okay, we are talking about competitive labour market. We know that unemployment continues to be one of the main EU challenges. High differences of unemployment rates between member states are even bigger challenge, because there are unbelievable differences between unemployment in Germany, in Czech Republic, which I am very proud because it's the country now with the lowest unemployment in Europe, and on the other side, of course, Greece, Spain, unfortunately as well Italy and France is joining the low rates of unemployment. And even worse difference is in youth unemployment rate, which are more than twice as high as general unemployment. So we are speaking about 18–19% at the European level right now, but unfortunately about 56% in some European regions. 56% of young people being unemployed. So it's really a main challenge. The second point I want to address, and it was said by a lot of you, it's matching skills and jobs. For me, this is a big priority, and it's something that I was really surprised when I arrived to the European Parliament, that it's not dealt with at the European level. Matching skills and jobs, it's an easy task because all of you, all businesses, all companies, you know at least approximately what kind of skills you will need in future. You know how many older workers are going to leave your company, you know what is changing in your digitalization, in your automatization, so you know. But the problem is that the educational system and the politicians are not asking what are the real needs of the companies. I am discovering, and I am shocked by discovering it as a politician, that there are so many educational long-term strategies in different member states, but nobody never asked to businesses what they will need. How you can prepare educational strategy if you don't ask employers what kind of skills they will need in future. Of course, it goes hand by hand with this, the VET, the technical educational. And I think that it's absolutely crucial in addressing the skills gap as well. We cannot produce, like in my region, 100 waitresses and chefs, but we need people in the automotive industry. This is absolutely nonsense. We have to look at it, and we have to get better image of VET education. And I am addressing not only the schools, I am addressing, for example, the parents, because I think that parents would prefer to see a happy plumber than unhappy lawyer. Okay, of course there is a European level matching of skills and jobs, and you talked about it, somebody of you. We need better national qualification system, mutual recognition, but we need as well better mobility inside Europe. We need languages. We need better exchange between the member states, even of the informations where we are, when we can match skills and jobs. My other point is youth, and it was said a lot. Thank you for. Thanks very much to Alan, because it was a great opening speech. Of course, we need to give to our young people some future, and we need to do it now, because you know that every change in educational system will require at least 10 years before we get people who are educated with the new system. So we need to strengthen the work-based learning, and it was the answer on your questions as well. We need the practical experience. It should be a mandatory part of education. And let's be inspired by the countries who are doing it well. And I can even name them, like Austria, Germany, Denmark, Netherlands. They are doing very well with practical experience. So let's try to learn from these best practices. And of course, entrepreneurship education. You were talking about it. Entrepreneurship education, for me, it doesn't mean only to do own business. I am not naive. I know that not everybody can be entrepreneur. But entrepreneurship and entrepreneur education is approach to the labor market, to the work, is attitude in life. I think that you can distinguish who is in between teachers, more entrepreneurial, who is not. Even in between politicians, who is a little bit more entrepreneurial, who is not. So this is a kind of attitude in life. So we have to give this attitude to our young people. We have to do more for apprenticeships and traineeships, because this is the real shift from the education system to the labor market. And of course, another topic I have absolutely to mention is the innovation and digitalization. And a lot of you talked about that. Innovation is a real driver in economy. I am a big fan of education in innovation, digitalization, new economies, new sharing economy, because fast-changing conditions in the labor market are necessary, and it's a positive trend. But of course, we need to be up to grade. Not only employees, but the teachers as well. This is why teachers should go more often to the schools. We should educate and train teachers as well. Because you know better than me that some of teachers are teaching in schools something which is not used anymore in the companies. So we have to really connect these two words. And I will just finish with one thing. I was lucky enough to be a reporter of a report here in the European Parliament about matching skills and jobs. You can read it if you want. It was approved 1 year ago. But now I became 2 days ago a reporter of a new report about new skills agenda. So I think that I will use all my experience as a businesswoman to try to incorporate in this report everything what businesses really need. And just please don't be afraid to talk to politicians, don't be afraid to talk to educational institutions, because they need to know from you what you really need. And I am telling to politicians and to educational institutions as well that they need to be socially responsible for the new generation of Europeans. So not only companies and businesses should have this corporate social responsibility, but educational system, institutions and the politicians as well. And my last thing, you know, one of the first meetings I had in the new role as member of the European Parliament with people from business, I asked them, what do you need from a politician? And the answer was very interesting. Nothing. Just listen. So this is why I am here today, because I wanted to listen what are your needs. And I hope that in this big challenge, which is the labour market, I can really listen to you and incorporate it in European policies. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Martina. Thank you very much for your time and for your engagement at European Parliament. And thank you very much, Alan, for your opening remarks. Now we are going on the closing session, and it is a great honor for us to invite the government plenipotentiary and state secretary for the Slovak presidency of the Council of the European Union, Mr. Ivan Korczok, to come and to take the floor with us.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished members of European Parliament, of Enterprises. Many thanks for inviting me and giving me the opportunity on behalf of Slovak presidency to address this important gathering. When I entered the room and saw so many of you gathered here, immediately I realized how impressed I am, how encouraged I am, because I used to represent the Slovak presidency in the plenary session of European Parliament, and I hope I will not go too far when I say that I have very rarely a view of such a crowded plenary. This is very flattering when you are clapping here, but I may have a problem later on with the European Parliament. But nevertheless, this just confirms that my decision was right to accept the invitation of you, the organisers, for two reasons mainly. The first one is that we are aware as a presidency, as the representatives of Slovak government, how important it is to get a direct feedback from you, from the representatives of European enterprises, business community, because at the end of the day it is us, the Council and European Parliament, which in a co-decision are deciding on European legislation, and this legislation is creating the framework within which you, the European business, is operating. And I believe this is extremely important in operational terms, of course, for you, but in political terms as well, because I will not surprise you if I say that now what we need in this difficult time for European Union is a very intensive communication between all the stakeholders of European integration, and I'm absolutely convinced that you are key stakeholders of European integration, because you are creating jobs and you are the ones who can make it very clear what European Union means to our citizens, who are your employees. And secondly, it gives me an opportunity to share with you a few remarks about the main priorities of Slovak presidency. I intend to focus mainly on areas which I hope could be of your interest, but firstly, without dwelling too long on political context in which the Slovak presidency took over its historically first presidency of the Council, but I need to say that times can hardly be more challenging for us, of course, because of Brexit, but because of in fact, the long chain of crises that the European Union has been experiencing over the last years. I mean, my impression that in this gloomy mood that we are feeling here in the European Union, we tend to forget that, in fact, the last decade, we have been engaged in a constant crisis management in the European Union. Therefore, we cannot be surprised that we have a problem of trust and confidence of our citizens. But in spite of this, the Slovak presidency is absolutely determined to deliver and to show concrete results that we want to show at the end of our presidency to you, the representatives of business, but above all to our citizens. So what are the main priorities? Very briefly, when it comes to economy, we know that we need to create a favourable environment for investment, economic growth and job creation. That is what people understand and what people expect from all of us. And therefore, in our view, there is a trio of tools at our hand. The first one, I'm sure it was mentioned many times today, this is the European Fund for Strategic Investment, the Capital Markets Union, And of course, the most important tool in our hands, a common tool, is the European budget. The Capital Markets Union, we are working intensively on it to make a major progress, because we believe this is important for you to tap the possibilities of funds, cross-border funds that should be more accessible to you, because European enterprises are very much dependent on classical or traditional or conservative banking financing. Now, budget I have mentioned. We want to ensure that we will get a deal on budget 2017. If we need certain certainty, then the next possible opportunity for us is to have a clear framework for funding, and that's the budget. At the same time, not negotiations, but the discussions have started on the future or revision and review of multi-annual financial framework. When we speak about the opportunities and sources of growth, I certainly have to underscore the trade, which I believe is a critically important source of growth for us. And I'll be very frank and open here next week in the European Council, when the heads of states meet here in Brussels. There will be a very open and frank discussion what will be our trade strategy in a long-term perspective, because we see one thing, obviously. On the one hand, we support strong and clear global relationship and global partnerships when it comes to trade. At the same time, however, we see people on the streets protesting against agreements that we want to have, be it with the United States, be it with Canada. We need to take a decision whether we recognize China as a market economy. So there is a political problem. On the one hand, expectations we will use trade as a source of growth. At the same time, the acceptance by our citizens is not sufficiently high. I dare say here that when we look at how we negotiated TTIP, I think one dimension of it is the substance and what we want to achieve. The other thing is that, in fact, we have not managed to explain to our citizens what are the real benefits of this kind of trade agreement. It was all kidnapped. I'm aware I might be criticized for what I'm going to say, but I think that discussions and negotiations on TTIP have shown that it was sort of kidnapped by many who have been mobilizing against trade and globalization, against the United States, and there were many unproven allegations which in fact have made it very difficult to come to a conclusion on TTIP with current American administration. I'm nevertheless hopeful and confident that we can at least get a deal with Canada, and by the end of October we will have the summit with Canada, where the CETA will be signed. But I think there is a lesson to be learned. Other important point for us is, of course, single market. I will not speak too long here, but I just say that there are two flagship initiatives under Slovak presidency. One is the Energy Union. I don't need to underscore here vis-à-vis the European business community how important it is that we have both, that we live up to our ambitious climate goals, and we are proud that under Slovak presidency we managed to ensure ratification on behalf of the EU of the Paris Agreement. But at the same time, we have to ensure that we still will not make it even more difficult for European business to operate within this framework of ambitious climate deal. Digital single market. If trade is recognized as a source of growth, then we know that the same is valid for digital economy. Globally, we are lagging behind. We still have very fragmented markets. There are too many obstacles, be it for cross-border e-commerce, There are still problems with geo-blocking, with data transfer. So these types of issues, which we believe will benefit both the interests of clients and customers, and at the same time open new opportunities for businesses, is extremely important. Ladies and gentlemen, there is much more in our program of Slovak presidency. I just wanted to bring a message across to you, the representatives of European business, that for us, we are a small country. We are less interested in big announcements. We are not having our hidden national agenda, but we are more committed to bringing tangible results. And tangible results, in fact, are mostly concentrated in everything what is important for internal market. And that is, I think, what you understand, what you are confronted with. And therefore I'm very grateful for you being here today and giving us, the legislators, a clear feedback what your expectations are. I thank you so much for your attention, and I thank you for all the support we are receiving from you. Thank you.
And now the floor to our chairman, Richard Weber.
Dear members of the European Parliament of Enterprises 2016, you have spoken, you have listened, you have voted, and you have sat in this room for a relatively long time. So I will be brief. 60 members of this Parliament have spoken. Your discussions and decisions have been heard today by an exclusive group of high-level policymakers, including Mr. Ivan Kočak, State Secretary for the Slovak Presidency of the Council of the EU. Eurochambres will now work to ensure that they are heard by many, many more EU policymakers. And the Chamber Network will work to ensure that your words and votes also echo into the national capital. This communication process has already started via social media. It will continue through other media, through meetings and correspondence. And tomorrow, at the 120th Eurochambres General Assembly, I'm tabling a new proposal. A proposal for a new EU-level mechanism to ensure that entrepreneurs are not taken for granted. This will, of course, reflect the issues that we discussed today. Trade, single market, skills, sustainability. Thank you for coming today and participating actively, very actively. But please continue to participate. Please tell your fellow entrepreneurs that Europe matters. Tell them that also chambers matters. A strong Europe and a strong chamber network will be better for business. Before we finish our Parliament session, I would like to express our thanks and gratitude to our CEO, Mr. Arnaldo Abruzzini, and his team for organizing and leading us through this session. Great success for you and all of us. Thank you, Arnaldo. The next step will be to inform the Commission about our results. Arnaldo is keen to do so. Ladies and gentlemen, I now close the fourth edition of the European Parliament and that process. Have a good evening and a smooth journey home to your countries. Thank you very much and bye-bye.
Thank you, President.
Thank you. Thank you so much.